Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Serenova Crafts. I'm your host Jessica. I can be found as Serenova on Ravelry and Twitter, and as Serenova Crafts on Instagram. If I get around to doing the show notes, you can find them in my Ravelry group or on the YouTube or on my blog. Links down below in the description box on YouTube. It's about 4 days later than I'd initially planned to record. So I'd planned to record on Thursday after getting back from Canada and the Toronto Knitters Fest, but that didn't quite happen as planned. So I'm just going to get into it now. If you want to skip ahead, I will put in the time marker for you so you can skip if you don't want to hear about family illness and what's been going on and all that stuff. If you want to know what's been going on, well, I'm going to tell you right now. So, I didn't want to say anything until we knew it was all kind of over and done. There's still some recovery to happen, and we're not quite out of the woods yet, but basically the story is this. It's not really a story, but basically what happened is this. My grandmother had what we think is a small stroke on Easter, April 1st. We were sitting down to dinner, we were serving ourselves, and she stopped responding. And so I was the one that ended up calling 911. They took her to the hospital. She spent 10 days in the hospital. Basically my entire trip to Texas, she was in the hospital. I left, she went into the hospital 2 days before I left for Texas. And then she was in the hospital for 2 more days after I got back. So that was about 10 days total in the hospital for her. When she was released, we were told that she needed a heart valve replacement. If she didn't have one, they didn't have much hope for her living out the rest of this year. Now keep in mind, my grandmother, this is my maternal grandmother, my mom's mom, she'll be 97 in June. Yeah, June 2018, Grandma will be 97. She was born in 1921. Basically, the doctors gave it to us straight up. If she doesn't have a heart valve replacement, they gave her like 3 months. If she had the heart valve replacement, they're like she could live to be 100. So, so they sent her home to recover. They found a couple other issues, but nothing major. They switched around her medication to help because apparently she was getting too much from the previous hospital she'd been going to. Last week, so after I got back, so I've gone to Texas, she gets out of the hospital. I go to Canada, I come back from Canada, she's still at home. On Tuesday, this past week, we got the call saying that they had an opening on Thursday for her to have the valve replacement. They'd wanted to let her wait a couple of weeks to recover and regain her strength from being in the hospital for 10 days. Now, we didn't pressure my grandmother into going through with the procedure. She is still of sound mind. She still makes all her own decisions. She still does a crossword in ink in the Boston Globe every day. So she's still with it. Don't ask her who Beyonce is, but she's pretty much still, right? Pop culture she's not great with. But she still watches the news every night. She knows what's going on in the world. And she's still very much with it. And we made sure that this was her decision to do this. And she said yes. And basically her response was, I've made my decision, I'm going through with it, stop talking about it, right? Like, so once she made her decision, she just didn't want to talk about it. So we get the call on Tuesday, they have space for her on Thursday. So on Wednesday, she goes into the hospital. Basically because of her age and her, and just, just how she is in terms of her health and her strength and all that stuff, they wanted her to come in the night before the procedure. So she goes in on Wednesday, we're all visiting, trying to keep her mind off of things, because she basically straight up said, I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to think about it. So we did our best to distract her. So then on Thursday, I went over in the morning and tried to keep her distracted. I then had to leave and go to work, so I was on beside myself on pins and needles the whole time on Thursday at work. I finally got the message that she'd come through safe and sound. She was back in her room and she was resting. So I go to the hospital that night. I see her. She's doing well. I leave around 8 p.m. So so that night after I left, and my uncle was there. She lives with my uncle, by the way. So it's not like she lives on her own. She crashed about 9:45 Thursday night. Her heart actually did stop for a short period of time. They managed to resuscitate her, and they put in a temporary pacemaker. So on Friday, we figured she'd be going home on Friday. Well, that's not quite what happened. So when they put the temporary pacemaker in, they moved her to the ICU, because you actually are apparently not supposed to move around with a temporary pacemaker in, because they've inserted wires through, it was on this side, through the arteries, and veins in the neck down to the heart. So you can't move, right? So they moved her up to the ICU. And on Friday, I didn't get there before they took her in to go have the procedure done to put in a permanent pacemaker. So I sat in the waiting room with my uncle and my cousin, and the three of us, just waited for them to release her. Finally, when she was back in the room and waking up, they allowed us to go in and see her. Now, this is still an ICU. So we had to give, names and say who we were and all that stuff. And so she finally came home Saturday. And she just slept the afternoon away. Then she slept Saturday night. Yesterday, I went and saw her. So yesterday was Sunday. I went and saw her where she lives at the house. She seemed in good spirits. She'd managed to clean herself up a little bit. She gave herself a sponge bath. The stuff they used so she has an incision here where they made the pocket to put the pacemaker in. So the glue they used to hold instead of actually stitching her, they used a suture glue. So she can't use soap on any of the wounds yet. She can only use water, but she managed to get the benzidine and all that, the yellow stuff they slather you with. She managed to get most of that off. She needed my mom and I's help for a couple of things that she just couldn't reach easily. And we took off we changed the bandages on her so that she had more normal Band-Aids as opposed to all the bandages and gauze strips from the hospital. We put actual Band-Aids on her. So she's recovering. Today she was gonna go have blood work done. Wednesday she is going to have a follow-up with the doctors, but hopefully now we are in the clear. So April was quite the month, and the beginning of May has not been any better. So I'm hoping that this weekend I can go and enjoy New Hampshire sheep and wool. I won't have much of a budget to spend, but that's fine by me. I'm basically just going to see people and have a good time. So that's what's been going on. That's why I've been MIA on social media. That's why I haven't been really active. That's why I didn't get an episode out at the end of last week, because I was kind of in the hospital, keeping my grandmother company in the hospital, and there all day, and Friday's my day off, and I spent all day at the hospital. And so dealing with family drama stuff. So it's been a bit. I feel bad for kind of taking out some of my stress on Kevin yesterday, because we were at food shopping and I kind of got a little upset with him for absolutely no reason at all. It was just the stress making itself known. So that's what's been going on. So in case you were wondering, now you know. So on to knitting, I guess. I'll tell you about Toronto. Toronto feels like it was last year. That's how this week was. Feels like it was last year I was in Toronto. I know it wasn't. I know that it was a smidge over a week ago I was there, right? But in my brain, I'm all this stuff has happened with Grandma in the meantime. And I'm just wait, I was in Toronto when? I was in Toronto 8 days ago? What are you talking about, right? Right, and on top of that, today I got the call that my debit card number had been compromised and a whole bunch of charges had been put to my account. So I got overdrawn and all that jazz. And so I had to call my bank and refute all the charges. And then when I got home, in the mailbox was a postcard from my old vet, not the vet that our current guys go to, but my old vet before I moved, telling me to bring Cokie in for her vaccines. And I had to call them and deal with them and tell them that Cokie had passed away and go through all of that. And it's just oh my God. It literally feels like Toronto was a year ago. I'm not even joking. It feels like Toronto was a year ago. But anyways, I'm going to talk about the weekend. I did do some video and stuff like while I was driving up because I could just keep both hands on the wheel and just talk because I mean it's like holding a conversation with somebody in the car. I will post that as a separate video on my vlog channel because I made a vlog channel. I'm not very good at vlogging yet, but I made a vlog channel. So it's gonna go up on the vlog channel. I'll link that down below if I ever, when I get around to it, I'll link it. I'll probably edit it right after I edit this, and then I'll just upload them together. Let's see. So I left Friday, April 27th. Feels like it was a year ago. I know I've said that like 10 times, but it feels like it was a year ago. So, so I left Friday, April 27th. I left probably around 8:15, 8:30 in the morning, which was a little later than I'd wanted to, but just stuff happened and I got out the door a little later than I wanted. I headed up to Vermont. I headed up through Vermont. I stopped in Burlington to see Mandy, aka Mandy Pinecone. I dropped off a bunch of stuff for her actually and for other people. And then I continued north to the Canadian border. Crossed over, no problems. It was actually a very short line because it's a very minor border crossing. Driving through Quebec was interesting because all the signs are in French and I had no idea what any of them said. Managed to make it to Toronto around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. I ended up having to stop more as I got closer just because my knee was getting sore from driving because I don't really use cruise control when I drive. It's not great on my car, so sorry for any background noise. My neighbor is mowing, so hopefully you can't hear too much of that. So we got there, we just got a quick dinner, and then we got ready to go to the Toronto Knitters Frolic on Saturday. So we get up, we drive over. Well, first we go to the mall because we need the bank. And I ended up getting some stuff from David's that I don't have in reach. But we went and picked up Sarah, the Canadian knitter. I was staying with her. And we ended up picking up her aunt who came with us to the Frolic. Very sweet woman. I didn't bring him down, but she actually made me an eyeglass case. And Sarah's grandmother gave me a pair of knit slippers, which was very sweet of both of them. They didn't have to do that. I forgot to bring them down. I'll have to remember to try to show them off next episode. So then, so we went to the Frolic. It was a little crowded in a couple of spots, but it was in the Japanese Canadian Cultural Center, which was actually really cool to walk around. Like, I've always been a fan of Japanese culture, so I'm like, yes, please sign me up, right? So I took bunches of pictures of that. I'll put in some of the pictures and stuff, like, at the end. I'll just do a bunch of photos at the end. We went to the podcaster meetup. That was great. Sue and Lynn of Two Tangled Skeins were there. And then I met a bunch of other podcasters. I will try to link as many of them. I will try to list as many of them as possible in the show notes because I do not remember any of their names off the top of my head. The only podcaster I remember is the woman who hosts Knit One Geek Two, and I keep meaning to check her out. So then, you know, the four of us, Sue, Lynn, Sarah, and I, all went to dinner together after we'd enjoyed the festival some more. And then we went to dinner, and then Sarah and I went back to her place, and we just kind of chilled for the rest of the night. She had to take her husband to work, so she went, took him to work, came back. We sat for a little while, and then we were both just so tired from the day that, you know, we went to sleep. So, so then I drove home the next day. So it was basically like 1 day in Canada and 2 days of driving. So driving back, I actually came back a different way. Going to Toronto, I went north through Vermont, crossed the border, and then went north of the Great Lake to Toronto. Coming back, I went south first, crossed over Niagara on the lake, and then came back through New York. Mainly because Google was saying there was like a 15-minute time difference this time in between either route, because I guess there was like really bad traffic in the Montreal area, so I'm just like, I'll just drive through the US. So I'm going to show off the stuff I picked up there, and then I'm going to talk about whips, and then, yeah, that'll be it. So, this will be a slightly longer episode. I'm just going to reach over and grab one thing, because I need my sock thingies to show you one of my whips. So, stuff I got in Canada. So stuff I got at the Frolic. I actually, I kept the band. So, Toronto Knitters Frolic, April 28th, 2018. So, I got all Canadian stuff. Let's see. I actually already balled up one of the skeins of yarn, so that's going to be in the whip section. This is, so I'm just going to show you what the stuff is. So this is red sock, blue sock yarn. Their comfort sock base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, in the, I believe that's Shameless colorway. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? This is totally like, I was in their booth and I realized I picked up the same skein 3 times. I'm like, okay, I'm getting it. Because, you know, I mean, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't it pretty? Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. And then the second skein I got that's still in skein form is Dragon Strings. Again, this is made in Canada. This is a one-of-a-kind. It's their Sleipnir base, which is fingering. It's 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and it is the colorway Fairy Brains. So you have all this, so you have these pops of color here, but a good chunk of white in it too. Some darker colors there, some orange, some green. There's a huge shot of like pink and blue at the end there. There's some light blue and purple. So, you know, it's a very fun skein. It's a very fun skein. It's part of what drew me to it. And that is Dragon Strings. And I'll hold up the thing for the other one. So it's red sock, blue sock yarn. And that is their information on the bottom there. So that was that. I also got, you know what, I'm just going to show this. I got this bag, which is little fox faces. Isn't that cute? From Bling Your String, and it actually comes with stitch markers. And there's a little fox there. Where's the fox? There's the fox. Comes with a little fox. Come on. Come on. I want to show you off to the people on the internet. Cooperate. There we go. There's the fox. There's the fox. So in it is, this is from Feisty Fibers, who is there, and this is their Beyond Socks base. Again, it's an 80-20 superwash merino nylon blend, and this is the colorway Smashed Candy. So, that's that. Lynn was nice enough to ball it up for me. So here it is in the ball. You can see it's pinks and blues and greens and yellows. And then I am doing a pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks. And that is how it's working up. So there you go. And then that's the foot of the sock, so you can see the colors a little better. It's fairly pink, but I fell in love with it, and I kept coming back to the color, so I got it. So that's it for stuff I got at the Frolic. I did, however, get one other thing while I was in Canada, besides like the stuff from David's Tea that I don't have here to show you. That I did think to grab and show you. And that is, I bought one of the Starbucks You Are Here collection mugs. You can see it's the French, so I'm pretty sure you can figure out I bought the Canadian mug. I bought the Canada mug. So here it is. So it's bright red on the inside. And so here's the Canada mug. It's got a Mountie helmet and mountains and a moose and, you know, maple leaves. And I think that's supposed to be Parliament? I don't know. It's supposed to be some famous Canadian landmark. So I got the Canada mug. Because why not? It actually wasn't that expensive. It was like 13 bucks Canadian, which is like 10 bucks US, so it wasn't that bad for the mug. So I got the Canada mug. I'm not sure I'll actually use it as a mug. I might just like keep it as like a pen cup or something. We'll see. But I got the Canada mug. And then, oh, I forgot to put this back in the bag. I like to keep the label with the yarn. Forgot to put it back in the bag. All right, so that was my weekend. That was the stuff I bought. Go check out the dyers I mentioned because, you know, they actually have lots of really good stuff. So now on to whips. So this first whip I'm going to show you is something I hadn't casted on when I last recorded. And that's this hat. I am doing a test knit for my friend Brandy. Sorry, that was my phone ringing. It was a spam call because it was bright red. yeah, it's, I don't have the pattern in reach, but it's supposed to be cables in it. I haven't quite gotten to the cables yet. But here it is. It's a twisted rib start on it. And then this is the yarn. I already balled it up. You can see here. The yarn is 3 Irish girls. They're Elenia alpaca, which is 50-50 alpaca merino. And the colorway is Lucky Charm. This was a gift from someone, I do not remember who, but it's been in my stash for a while. So, finally decided to use it on this hat, because even though the pattern calls for worsted and this is a DK yarn, this is knitting up like a worsted. This is almost knitting up like an aran. This is not a DK yarn. It's not a DK yarn. So, yeah. So that back in the bag. Oh, if you're wondering about the bag, yes, it's a Harry Potter bag. It's from a Single Strand Studio. You can check her out on Etsy. This is very appropriate considering Harry Potter: A Hogwarts Mystery came out. Really, they should have just called it Hogwarts: A Mystery, but you know. So, and then, did I work on this since I last showed it to you guys? My second, yes, I put a few rows on. So my second Paris Toujours. I keep getting distracted by socks, so like I haven't really worked on this, even though I really like it. So I've done that much. I've done like 6 rows. I'm working on it. It'll get there eventually. So then the last thing is why I needed the sock blockers, so I could show you, because it's a hoe, because it's a half object, because it's a pair of socks. So let me put these. I actually lost the progress keeper that was on this sock, but I was on this sock and I finished this sock and started the second sock, so I figure it's fine. I'll just put a new progress keeper in when. So my speckled space socks. I finished the first sock. There it is. You can see the pattern only if it's up close. If I hold it back here, you can't really see the pattern. That's fine. But if you get a nice up close look, you know, you can really see the pattern and the colors of the yarn. And then I've just started the second sock. I'm on like row like 3 of the pattern. So I've just finished the toe and I'm actually onto the actual pattern, which is on this side actually. So let's show you not the bottom of the foot, let's show you the top of the foot. So there we go, I've just started the pattern there. Just started the pattern. So, but yeah, so that's that. That's everything I've been working on. That's everything that's been going on. This is already at like 23 minutes or longer, which is like way more than I normally do these days for an episode. But, you know, I wanted to let you guys know what was going on because I was being kind of secretive and elusive and didn't really know. So that is what's going on with me. So if you're still here and you're still watching, thank you very much. Likes, subscribes, comments are all very much appreciated. They give the YouTube algorithm the proper boost it needs so that new people can find my podcast. If you are a new viewer, thank you for watching me. I'm sorry the beginning of this episode was such a downer. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much for sticking with me through all of that. As a reminder, I am doing a giveaway. In the previous episode, I showed off the yarn. There's a giveaway thread in the Ravelry group. I will link that down below. I hope you enter. And thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!